Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I think we're going to wait for a few more attendants to kind of drop in here before we actually begin, but we just want to start off by saying thank you. And we're really excited to kind of share some of this stuff with you guys today. So get ready. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So as you guys know, today we are covering probiotic skincare for pets and the breakthrough wellness solutions associated with it. So I want to start off by saying thank you to everybody that's able to join us today. We are really excited to obviously expand your knowledge about Skouts Honor and talk more about probiotics and overall pets wellness. Today we are joined by Pete Sterling. Pete, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Pete Sterling, the CEO and president of Skouts Honor, one of the founders, and actually one of the key contributors in the development of the probiotic line that we sell.
And then Abby Trobe. Abby, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Abby Trobe. I'm a veterinary technician and I own a mobile pet grooming business, and we're about to hit 10 years in business.
Thank you, Abby. So as we get into this, we're going to start by just talking a little bit about pet skin health and wellness. You've probably all seen this or been asked this by your client base, customers, pet parents. What are the solutions for their pets' skin issues? We've also seen this on the human side as we use beauty and cosmetics to make ourselves look and feel our best. So the same needs are going to apply to our pets. So common skin issues are literally just that. They are common as acne and blemishes to us. Our pets face similar things that show up in our pets as itchiness, dry skin, sneaky skin, hot spots, even yeast. This comes down to an imbalance. So as we get a little bit more into this, I want to do an introduction into our pet skin microbiome and what an imbalance means. And so Pete, could you start off with like what could be the cause of a microbiome out of balance?
Also, the pet microbiome is very similar in its purpose as to our own microbiome. So everybody, every animal, every human has a layer on the surface of their skin that's basically comprised of oils, dead skin, and little tiny microbes. Sounds kind of gross, but it really, I mean, those guys are there to help us out. It's a symbiotic relationship. What they do is they help prevent invasive or pathogenic bacteria, yeast, from establishing themselves on the skin and forming these, layers of bad that can cause all these issues. Everyone's heard of biofilms. This is what we're discussing. So if you have a healthy microbiome, you're really not going to have a lot of these problems develop because those biofilms will be naturally prevented from occurring in the first place. Now, what can happen is, especially with dogs, you have anything. It could be breeding. It could be an environmental issue, like a dog spends a lot of time in a swimming pool. It could be being groomed too consistently, over grooming an animal. It could be illness. A lot of times we see this with any type of antimicrobial treatment, especially traditional type that are really more symptomatic approaches, antibiotics, steroids. And what ends up happening is that the natural microbial community gets disrupted. Scientifically, it's called dysbiosis. And once this has happened, what ends up ultimately taking place is that these pathogenic bacteria and yeast have the opportunity to establish themselves and colonize and form these biofilms. So that manifests this dog on a dog in pretty common symptoms. A lot of the problems that groomers and retailers are faced with trying to solve for their customers, and that would be itchy skin, odor, hot spots, and shedding.
That we see here. Obviously, guys, with Pete talking a little bit, I know there might be a few questions. So what we're going to do is there's a question spot. I forgot to mention this at the beginning. There's a question spot basically on your webinar itself. Feel free to ask questions at any time. We're going to do a little question and answer bit at the end. And furthermore, with this will be recorded. You will receive a copy of it when we do finish, and then it'll also be available on petsplusmag.com too. So rest assured, if this information can be too much, and sometimes diving into the science of this, it can seem like it. So we'll answer anything and everything we can today, and then we can dive back into it if you have further questions after. And so Abby, I guess expanding on kind of what Pete said, like, could you express, being like a vet tech and a mobile grooming like operator, could you express like what an imbalance means, or like I guess a microbiome imbalance means in your line of work, and like what's a common standard practice for approaching such an issue?
Well, we see a lot of itchiness, redness, dryness, and a lot of times people will have been struggling with chronic issues, so they'll have taken their pets into the vet and they get like one of the three main medicated shampoos that haven't changed since I was a kid. And so we've seen them going through trying those over and over and over, and it drying out the skin and not helping the specific issues that they're looking to help. And all groomers will have seen like the stinky red inflamed paws and like the groin being rashy, and they're shaking their heads because they're having chronic ear issues. And we're seeing that. I think there's been more and more pets. Like I feel like 1 in 10 dogs we see has some kind of skin issue that we would find. So I feel like it's becoming even more prevalent. So we need to get on top of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you'd consider this to be a bit of a big problem?
Yeah, and I feel like it's getting worse, but people are recognizing it, I think, a little quicker and looking for solutions a little bit faster than waiting and just being like, oh, my dog's been shaking its head for years. Now they're like, huh, something seems wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Abby. So I guess most importantly too, guys, we're really excited to be able to talk to you about like the technology and what we've been seeing at Skouts Honor for the last few years, obviously with our testimonials and the different results we've seen from our clientele. And now we've done a breakthrough study to where we actually have third-party lab test results to express this stuff is really happening. And we're really excited to be able to dive into it. So next, Pete, why don't you what's going on at Skouts Honor?
Well, so at Skouts, what we're really proud of right now is that we are patent pending on the use of a topical probiotic, specifically to treat and prevent an imbalance in the pet's natural microbiome. So we're targeting some of these common pet skin conditions and trying to approach them in a more preventative manner. And that makes this the first product on the market that truly is preventative. We're not looking to treat the symptoms necessarily as much as the underlying cause. And there was a deep dive into what was available out there, what we could actually rely on to be able to accomplish this. And I'm proud to say that we were able to identify a very unique strain of probiotic kefir and be able to microencapsulate that and provide it in a traditionally preserved product that allows us to infuse multiple different products with this technology. So you're not really asking the customer to go out and buy something special or specific. What we've done then, what that allows us to do is provide these natural and effective alternatives to medicated products. Like Abby was saying, a lot of these medicated problems actually create this cycle of treat and repeat, because what they specialize in is killing off everything, not just the bad, but the good. And we hear about this all the time on the human side when we talk about antibiotics and the different types of products that we personally as humans take to try to deal with a bacterial infection or a yeast infection. What you're doing is you're wiping the slate clean. And that creates a situation in which whoever shows up first is going to basically dominate the area. What we've done is we've created a product that allows us to break that cycle of treat and repeat by essentially pre-populating the surface of the skin with beneficial bacteria and yeast that are going to support the good bacteria in their recovery and prevent the bad bacteria from establishing themselves and forming these biofilms. What's really cool about that is that means these products are safe for regular use. It's not a system where you're putting your dog on an antibiotic and now you're going to affect everything internally and externally to try to solve an external problem. This is something you can use topically, and you can basically apply to the skin on a daily basis and not have to worry about any negative side effects. Probiotics, especially these kefirs, have been around for, I believe there's examples of mother kefir that are 3,000 years old. These have been a part of our lives as humans and our lives with our pets and animals for millennia. So it's nothing. There is plenty of circumstantial and objective evidence that shows that this is the closest thing to a cure-all that we have out there. In fact, that information is backed up by the American Academy of Dermatology. They are looking at and currently using similar probiotics to deal with everything from acne to rosacea, eczema, and psoriasis on humans, along with another, like a whole host of yeast. Ultimately, this does appeal very, very well to that customer that's looking for a natural alternatives to medicated solutions. That's a fast-growing segment in the pet space, and it helps that it comes from a nationally recognized brand. We've done a good job of establishing ourselves and earning the reputation that we've over the last 5 years. We stand behind all of our products. We're easily reached. We're easily found. It's not like we're trying to hide or we're in the back of somebody's garage. We are a national company. So there is the confidence that comes with the fact that we have to hold ourselves accountable for these products that we put in the marketplace. And that is pretty much what we got going on. It's a lot. And ultimately, I think that this is going to be representative of a real positive step towards how we approach these problems with animals overall.
Now, Pete, expanding on that a little bit as we kind of dive into more of like the third-party lab tests, the lab test results that we had come back that shows truly how effective these natural products can be. Can you expand a little bit on this scientific proof of efficacy?
Yeah, so probiotics in general do 3 things. They effectively block the bad yeasts and bacteria from gaining a foothold. They do actually have antimicrobial activity that they exercise as well. All of the yeasts and bacteria that we use, the beneficial yeast and bacteria, are all associated with the production of lactic acid. And that is a very powerful tool in sort of microbe on microbe war. Bad bacteria, gram-negative bacteria, and the associated yeasts really cannot survive in an acidic environment. Good bacteria, gram-positive bacteria, do a fantastic job of doing so. What's cool and unique about approaching the situation in that traditionally antibiotics are very, very good at killing good bacteria and not that great at killing bad bacteria. So what we did was we had conducted some tests, which we have some slides to show you guys here in a minute, that demonstrate that our kefir effectively stops and prevents the growth of Candida yeast and ringworm on the surface of the skin. So those are 2 of the leading causes of the 4 major issues that we're dealing with out there in the field. The ability to stop and prevent the growth of these pathogens on the pet skin. Our whole point here is to substantially benefit the quality of life of the pet and the pet's parent. So our opinion is, if we can prevent it from happening in the first place, it just means that the dog will be happy, the owner's going to be happy. They're not locked into the cycle of me having to wait for a negative symptom to show up on my animal before I'm able to do anything about it.
It's awesome. And so could you expand? I know you kind of mentioned, like, obviously we have some slides for them, and this is literally a couple slides within a slide. It's like a pun. So can you explain really what we're looking at, and then maybe some controls that took place to give what we're looking at its justice?
Yeah, so this is where I'm a total nerd, so I love this stuff. It's got a petri dish. It's my favorite slide. So these are petri dishes, and what these petri dishes are showing is a zone of inhibition test. So this is a very common proof of concept test used to determine the efficiency of antibiotics. So everything from penicillin to zithromycin, this is the test you use to make sure it's actually working well. So what we've done here is you impregnate a small patch, and you, in this case, with our probiotic kefir, and you put it in the middle of a petri dish, and you surround it with the pathogenic yeast or bacteria that you're testing it against. The example we're looking at right now is Candida yeast. So what you see is that the probiotic kefir actually creates a 20 millimeter zone of inhibition. That means a 20 millimeter space in this patch where that yeast is not able to function, grow. So what's pretty neat about that, from where I sit, is that we tested this against, as a control, benzalkonium chloride. So benzalkonium chloride, isopropyl, and ethyl alcohol are the 3 ingredients the FDA approves for topical hand sanitation, or just topical sanitation in general. That's, according to the latest monograph, those are the only 3 ingredients you're allowed to use in a topical sanitizer if you're selling it as a hand sanitizer. Benzalkonium chloride is the only one that's safe for use around dogs. So we tested that against our probiotic kefir, and the benzalkonium chloride was only able to achieve a 14 millimeters of inhibition. So the probiotic kefir actually works more effectively than an FDA-approved antimicrobial, and that is a big win for us. We saw similar results with the ringworm. So ringworm and Candida yeast run from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum on yeast growth. So the product has shown very effective against yeast and controlling growth on the surface of the skin.
So in like more of a layman's term, this would be you basically create a force field for bad bacteria that the bad bacteria cannot come within, and you're doing so more effectively than the next chemical in line naturally.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's great about that too is that this is something. Remember, this is a live colony forming unit of the probiotic kefir. There's about 500 million of them per ounce in that bottle. So once that's on the surface of the skin, it'll continue to populate up to 14 days. It's pre-packed with a prebiotic. It can sustain it in itself on its own. You know, one thing that's important to know is this is not a naturally found. These aren't naturally found yeasts or bacteria. So once the natural microbiome, we're not trying to repopulate the skin permanently. Once the natural microbiome comes back into balance, they just kind of leave. They just go away. They're not trying to take its place. They're not crowding it out, and they can coexist very well. So once they're gone, they're gone. But that we do have products that we can use on a daily basis, which we'll get into more, to help sustain them if there is a chronic condition that we're trying to deal with.
So could you expand a little bit on those products and ways to apply them?
Yeah, so we have the shampoo and conditioner, real easy. Obviously, this isn't something most people are going to be using on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. And then you have your probiotic deodorizers, you have your itch relief, paw spray, probiotic hotspot, ear cleaner. Really what this comes down to is a collection of products for both grooming and wellness that we developed in conjunction with the vets and groomers who had tried our product, used it, and sought alternative uses for the technology. What's unique about our technology and the fact that we're able to microencapsulate this probiotic kefir and keep it in a preserved environment is that we can impregnate pretty much any product with it that's used topically. And that puts us into a situation where we're not asking the customer to go out and buy a probiotic supplement. Supplements are a tough sell. For a groomer, it's difficult to get somebody to buy onto something new. You know, it's for a retailer, it's very difficult to do. I mean, yeah, add-on sales are great, but sometimes they're just not that easy. You have to count on 2 items being in stock or 2 items being available, or the customer may want to spend a little bit extra money. We're not saying that. We're saying just buy what you would normally buy. Buy the shampoo, get the deodorizing spray, get the hotspot hydrogel, but just buy better. So it's an easy reach for the customer, and the results speak for themselves. And I think that's, as you can see with the before and afters, and I'm sure Abby, you've got some personal experience you'd be willing to share. This is something that we've found to be fantastically successful in the field.
Absolutely. Abby, why don't you go and expand upon maybe some of these products or some of the products that you use in your services or your business that you've seen, whether it be matching results or outstanding results, or kind of what you've seen personally firsthand.
Yeah, we started when we were trying Skouts Honor with the shampoo and conditioner, and then immediately moved on to getting everything we could find. So with the shampoo and conditioner, I love so many animals that have chronic skin issues get dried out and you can't use things more frequently, but this, with the avocado oil and with everything on it, the fact that we can use it to help prevent things from happening and not dry the skin out. And also a lot of times, like the fragrances or some of the other shampoos, you can't use those on dogs with skin issues because the alcohol dries out the skin. So people being able to have things that smell really good and that their dog smells like honeysuckle, like instead of nasty chemicals, like they get really, really excited. So we would have people calling and being like, what was that smell you were using? Because I need more of that in my household. So then you're selling them on the deodorizer to use in between. And we were talking to vets offices that love having the deodorizer on hand. So, and we were doing a lot of dogs with like yeasty paws. We would soak their paws in the shampoo and conditioner. So like you put like a little tub and you like soak it in there. So then you did the paw spray, which is making things a lot easier. And the vets are frequently telling people that if their dogs have environmental allergies, that they should be wiping their paws off every time they come inside. And the thought of doing that every time with like getting soap and water and a washcloth and this and that, people aren't going to be compliant with that. So now that there's a easy to use spray, I think that that's going to make a huge difference for people to just be able to easily use that and not have the dog tracking in the pollens and the allergens and then starting to chew at their feet. So I was really excited about that. And then the ear cleaner, we always had problems finding an ear cleaner that we could use for dogs and cats, because a lot of times the ear cleaners will say, do not use on cats. This has an essential oil you can't use on cats. And we do dogs and cats. So we would have to carry, okay, we have to have special cat shampoo. We have to have special cat ear cleaner. We have to have, and you have limited space and you don't want to be carrying, 10 different ear cleaners because that's just silly. So finding something that is safe for both and that is not only treating what we're seeing, if you have gunky ears, if you have yeasty ears, if you have just crusty ears, but the fact that it is forming a barrier. And then I read somewhere with the ear cleaner, it can form a barrier for like up to 2 weeks. Like what? So the people that are taking their dogs swimming every day, or the dogs that go out hunting, or the fact that it's forming a barrier against that is huge, because a lot of these dogs have big floppy ears, so they're trapping in all of the moisture and stuff like that. And with the cats, we've actually seen more cats with yeasty ears lately. And so being able to have something that then the clients can also have at home that's safe is really big. I'm looking at the stuff on the screen. I'm like, oh yeah, and that and that and that. The detangler, I don't know how many of our clients would be using it at home. Like they'd say they were going to, but I don't know if they would. But like every groomer needs to have it. And then you keep adding scents in. So good luck not buying all of them, because now we had recently, and I'll just tell you a story. The wife really loved the honeysuckle smell, but the husband was like, I want something that smells like a dude. And we're like, what? And then right after that, you guys launched Dog of the Woods, which is like that sandalwood vanilla. So now like every other time, like I'm like, okay, this time you keep the wife happy. Next time you do the other scent. This time you keep. So I think they're like battling scents in the house. So the fact that you have that in the detangler now too. So I think definitely on the grooming side, every groomer needs to be doing the shampoo and conditioner, the ear cleaner, the detangler, the deodorizer, and a lot of those things transfer to people having at home too, like having the shampoo and conditioner on hand, having the deodorizer, and now I'm really excited about the paw spray, especially for dogs with environmental allergies.
Absolutely. Thank you, Abby. And I can gladly expand a little bit upon that too. Like with, in the retail side, like it's it might be an easy sell to get someone to go home with a shampoo product because they're going to do the general maintenance on their pup.
Mm-hmm.
There are those series of dogs that like, it takes some general brushing, but they're pretty low maintenance, to begin with. And you might find yourself bathing them once every 3 weeks or once a month, or some people even space out further than that. And that's when those deodorizer sprays or even those detangler sprays really come into play, because what ultimately it's doing is kind of going back to what Pete said, as where you're, once something has kind of dominance over the skin, that's really what takes control, because what it provides is it gets rid of the opportunity for something bad to come in, because there's space for something bad to come in. So having those daily sprays and like that being your upsell, or that being like your support item, to where these people are going to come in and give their dog a bath once a month, and then their dog gets naturally funky over those 4 weeks, they're able to provide the probiotic treatment, which kind of takes like top of line just for overall like microbiome health or skin health and coat health, but then also like there is that underlining fragrance that like just kind of freshens them up a bit. So yeah, I can relate ever so directly. So all right, so I want to kind of get into the a little bit more with Pete here, and just kind of about what we call the Skouts Advantage, and what it really means to be a brand partner with us. And so Pete, if you kind of expand on this next slide here for everybody.
Yeah, and before we get into that too, just one thing, Abby, kind of along with what you were saying, is that from talking to vets and talking to retailers, a lot of the frustration comes from really the diet that's being fed the animal, right? So I mean, that's a big cause of an imbalance in the microbiome, is a poor diet. And there's not a whole lot you can do to control what happens once that animal leaves your facility or leaves the store, but you can control what happens inside. And so, you know, your ability to approach a lot of these conditions topically, that's a unique aspect of the products that we're offering. So again, guys, like I said, we are a leading pet specialty brand for natural. We're really the first out there to have a preventative, high-end performing solution in a lot of different categories. Somebody asked a question earlier, made a comment about the fact that we do cleaning as well. So this is something where we as a company have really focused on just being disruptive. We are constantly looking for new technology. We're either going to curate it ourselves or bring it into the pets, or create it and bring it into the pet space with the singular goal of offering positive, life-changing results. We want it to be easier and more enjoyable to live a life with your animal. If you guys are aware of some of the other stuff we do, which we'll get to in a minute, I mean, it's a big part of our MO is making sure that those pets stay in a happy home. One of the things we do to support our retailers, which is very important to us, I myself come from a retail background, a lot of us do, so does my partner, and we do believe firmly that the brand grows in brick and mortar. So to do so, we have a very stringent minimum advertised price policy, or MAP policy. You cannot buy our product for less money online than you can in the store locally. And we are exclusive to pet retail. So we do not do business, Skouts Honor does not do business with Target or Walmart, and that will remain that way. During the last year, especially during the pandemic, I think we proved ourselves to be very reliable in terms of inventory. We had product when no one else did. We have I'm very proud of our manufacturing capabilities and what we're capable of doing with those. Very quick turnaround times, and that allows us to offer products and for services and private label opportunities when applicable. And of course, marketing support. That's kind of a big part of the role that Tommy plays around here. But marketing support is something that we are proud to offer to our retailers and our groomers to make sure that you're successful with the product as well.
So kind of what you see here in this next slide, guys, is going to be some of that marketing support. These would be just examples of what you could have as what a full brand billboard of Skouts Honor might look like. This is kind of highlighting some of our top sellers here too, with our super sour spray you guys may be aware of, our urine destroyer, the stain and odor remover, top sellers, the 2-in-1 and deodorizer top sellers, and then ear cleaner actually being a top seller. And this is, again, what kind of a full brand board could look like in your store if you guys have not brought us in just yet, or maybe don't carry the entire lineup. Some of the things we also focus on is obviously with our peace and harmony, because we are providing peace and harmony to your pet by balancing their natural bacteria so that they can live a happier life, so that ultimately you can sleep through the night instead of hearing thumping throughout like the night of them scratching or going at themselves. And then the Itchy Dog 20% off, that's me a programmatic ad that we have running, and then some other beautiful assets that we have online, and then further expanding on our social media. So obviously we keep very, very bright, fluent colors, very attention grabbing content, a lot of which we do shoot in-house, some of which is user generated, and then some placement that we get. So any type of print ad that we do, or in the May 12th issue of Us Weekly, we were featured with Ireland Baldwin as our prebiotic pet balm, being one of the products that she always carries in her purse, because she uses it both on herself and her pet, which is another versatility that comes with the product lineup. Is yes, you can use them on yourselves, and we can all here at Skouts Honor can say that we do that. So, and I'm not ashamed to say it. So moving on a little bit here, more is the Scouts Paw Pledge, and this is really a beautiful part to the brand. And Pete, I would love for you to expand on this a little bit too for everybody, if you could.
Yeah, so part of what I was saying before, we really focused on keeping pets in the home, making sure that it's a happy, healthy home. Everyone's glad to be around each other at all times. So whether we're dealing with urine problems or skin conditions, the goal is just to make sure everyone's enjoying and living their best life. So from the get-go, we wanted to make sure that we were giving not only our customers the opportunity to have that same feeling every time they purchase the Skouts Honor product, but obviously wanted to help out animals as well. So we launched the brand in 2016 with the Scouts Paw Pledge in place. So since our conception, every bottle of Skouts Honor sold has fed an animal in need for a day. We do that in conjunction with, in a partnership with the rescue bank. So really what it's doing is we're helping get the food to the animals that need it most. And to date, we've provided more than 6.5 million meals and counting. So it's fun, it's been successful. It's something we want to continue to grow. Personal goal, I'd like to see that hit 10 million by the end of the year. So definitely something we're going to continue to do as we move forward.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pete. And so guys, we're going to go ahead and open up this portion to questions, but I want to kind of close out by at least this last section by saying thank you, Pete and Abby, for joining us obviously for this webinar. And if you guys can hang out, we're going to take some questions from our viewers today. So let's see as we dive in. Actually, I have a question for Pete. Pete, what is a microbiome for those that may not know?
We covered it earlier. So basically, a microbiome is a protective layer on the surface of your skin. You've heard it probably called a couple things in humans, like an acid mantle or something of that nature. But it's basically comprised, and this sounds kind of gross, of oil, dead skin, and microbes. So combinations of yeasts, bacteria, and what they do is they basically help support a healthy balance on the surface of the skin. So they prevent pathogenic bacteria and yeast from coming in and setting up microfilms or biofilms. And the pet industry is very progressive when it comes to their knowledge, your knowledge on how probiotics work, biofilms, right? All these problems. And the reason why is because these are the underlying cause of most of your common pet skin conditions. So what we've done is we've basically figured out a way holistically to help support that natural microbiome and make sure that throughout the grooming process or the treatment process that it is and remains strong, healthy, and is capable of doing its job and naturally preventing all these common skin conditions from taking place.
Wonderful, thank you. So we have a question here that is, are the shampoos safe for small pets like guinea pigs, and that they often have a lot of issues with ringworm?
Mm-hmm.
Abby, you want to handle that one? Or
Yeah, well, I know people who have used it on rabbits for ringworm. I know we've seen all kinds of animals, and we know so many people with animals. I've seen people use the detangling spray on like one of the long-haired guinea pigs. So far we've just been able to use it across the board for different issues.
We have had it vetted by several veterinarians as well to show that it's safe for use on cats and dogs. Mm-hmm. Most of the issues that you'd probably see associated with using grooming products on animals would be a common problem associated with cats. So they lack the enzymes to break down the phenols and the essential oils. Hasn't been a problem with our products. So I think you're good to go. Definitely always, before you use a new product on any animal though, it's always good to check with your veterinarian.
Yeah, and kind of expand on that too, like obviously with smaller breeds, especially like varmint or rodent, the biggest thing is them in a smaller size, sometimes they have issues regulating their body temperature. So you kind of want to like avoid either if you bathe them, right, getting them wet, leaving them wet for too long, or kind of overexposing them to something. Just in that case, that would be kind of my one concern, is like just watching for their body temperature itself. So
yeah, do the research and also contact your professionals. But yes.
Absolutely. So this question comes from Emily. Emily asks, what are the best products that they should always have in stock?
Our number one selling product is the 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. Probably followed up very closely by the deodorizing spray. If we're talking about the grooming products, ear cleaner does extremely well. We've seen, and we just launched paw spray, but I heard Abby gushing about it earlier. I imagine that one's going to go over pretty well. So, and a lot of this is in response to groomers. We have groomers that we're, like Abby said, creating a paw soak essentially out of existing products, the unscented deodorizing spray or the shampoo. So it's definitely, we'll continue to expand the line, but the technology will remain consistent. There's it ain't broke, we're not going to fix it. So.
Abby, could you expand on that at all? I mean, I know he kind of mentioned some of your top favorites, but I don't know if you could expand on that at all.
Well, I think a lot of them, it carries over for like if a vet is carrying them, if retail's carrying them, and grooming, but always, always, always the shampoo. I love the shampoo plus conditioner. I think that's really good for retail to be able to sell because, people don't always know like how to mix or like dilute or if do I use conditioner, do I not? So I think that that's really good for pet parents to have at home. I think across the board, everybody needs the ear cleaner and the deodorizing spray. I mean, we like the deodorizing spray to the fact that like we carry them in our purse, like to use on animals and to use on other stuff. So if that's not a testament that the groomers are walking around with the product like in their purse, so definitely that. Super, super excited about all the paw stuff because as groomers know, you're seeing those issues so often, and pet parents a lot of times don't know how to handle it at home. So being able to prevent things and then also things that are easy enough for pet parents to use at home is huge.
Yeah, I actually
Absolutely.
use the deodorizing spray to treat my own eczema, and it's
See?
fantastic. Yeah, it's. I think that Jennifer Marshall asked if you could use the product on yourself, and everyone in my household does. I have 2 daughters, 7 and 5. They will kill me if I don't bring home the detangler before they run out. Their favorite is the honeysuckle. And we use they use the shampoo and conditioner actually as a body wash as well, and so does my wife. And my wife uses the shampoo and the separate conditioner because she's got this huge head of hair, which I obviously don't need to worry about. But it's a common use product around our house. I think last weekend I used our stain and odor remover to take red wine out of a white couch, which was probably saved my marriage.
Hey, well, as long as you're willing to admit it, I guess.
So
we have a question that came in.
Real though, like if people haven't tried it, we even have the air fresheners in our personal cars. So we smell it all day at work, and then we still want to smell it when we're in our personal cars. So that tells you how good it smells.
It's like working at a barbecue restaurant, smelling like barbecue and still eating barbecue.
I think I like the honeysuckle better.
So we have Teresa asked, it's all right. So Teresa asked, we just brought in the shampoo conditioner to use in our salon, and we have found it hard to get product because it's out of stock. When do we hope to have this issue resolved? I can actually take that one if you want me to, because I worked very closely with the groomers and obviously this program, and we faced a lot of issues last year with keeping product in-house. And one of the biggest thing, it came down to sourcing gallons because the government held up gallon production because they needed all the gallons for themselves. So what we did is we made a little pivot here. We pivoted obviously to support retail a lot that last year and kind of went through the inventory that we had, but a lot has changed now. So we do have everything in full production. We are expecting to see our first round of 2-in-1, which I believe is unscented, will be coming. We do have honeysuckle and we do have Dog with the Woods in-house and 2-in-1 currently. But we have another round now of the unscented coming in next. And I believe that arrives either this week or next. And then your lavender, your honeysuckle, and your Dog of the Woods are going to follow, and to continue to support that line. And that line has been ramped up. Production's been ramped up to be able to support the demand for that. Because trust me, we know firsthand, we saw firsthand. So we have you guys' back. We're going to build that stuff up, and we're going to have, just like anything else, 6 months inventory ready to go for you guys for the purchase as you need. So soon, like in the next week, we're gonna have, like I said, unscented. In the next few weeks here, we'll have the remaining fragrances. So
you can use the unscented and then use one of the sprays on top of it if you're looking for that scent. So the unscented is still really good to have on hand.
Absolutely, and it's hypoallergenic. So if you do have that dog that like maybe does have a sensitivity to some fragrance, and that doesn't happen often, but if they do, you have that extra layer of confidence knowing when using it as well. So,
or owners that are sensitive to fragrances, we've seen that too.
Absolutely. Our next question comes from Nicole, and she asks, what is the dilution rate of the shampoos? I can take that one too.
I'd like you to take the scientific version. I'm like, we use the Skouts Honor dilution bottles.
Yeah, so we do have a Skouts Honor dilution bottle available. Your max dilution is going to be 30-to-1. That's going to be basically 2 ounces of product to 30 ounces of water. So in a 32-ounce dilution bottle, which is what we obviously have available. You can use other dilution bottles. Just obviously watch your portions there. You know, you want to make sure you kind of keep that traditional 30-to-1. It is a Skouts 30-to-1, right? So it's 2 ounces, like I said, of product and then 30 ounces of water. That can generate enough product to give a large dog a bath. So with just those 2 ounces, you can actually find yourself getting like a you know, Labrador or somebody done pretty easy. So 30-to-1.
Tommy, I got a question I want to answer.
Yes, Pete.
Okay, and I hope I pronounced the name correctly. Margaret Nee is asking, could you please explain again a little more slowly how you're able to maintain the probiotic cultures in a soap? Have you done before and after skin biome testing that shows the presence of the probiotics on the skin as a result of product use? Testing of the shampoo in use during the agitation sudsing period of use. Questions arise because, of course, soap and water plus agitation is how we kill bacteria when we wash our hands, for example. So this is a great question. The technology we're using to transfer the probiotic, or to keep it stable in the bottle in the first place, but then also to get to the surface of the skin and allow it to do its thing after the washing is complete, was developed for use in antimicrobial human hand soaps. So specifically in an environment and human hand sanitizers. So specifically your antimicrobial hand soaps and your alcohol-based antimicrobial hand sanitizer. So what we use, it's a micro encapsulate. It's essentially, I mean, the closest thing to it that's going to make sense is a reverse keratin bead. So we're able to isolate and keep this probiotic keeper dry when it's wet. So until it dries out, it doesn't actually shear and release the probiotic. What's really cool about being a reverse keratin bead is it attaches itself, it's sticky, it attaches itself to keratin, so skin and hair. So it's got staying power. It survives in a dormant state until the skin or the surface that's being applied to is dry. And we have done tests. We used an antimicrobial hand soap and we used a hand sanitizer. And we actually, if you'd like, be happy, contact Shannon, or you can contact Pete at scoutshonor.com or Tommy at scoutshonor.com, and we'll send over, around here they call it my nerd report, which is the results of that test. So it shows that we were able to see growth. We did it on hands because there's not a huge difference between the hand and the dog, and then we did a finger swipe on a petri dish. That's the most controlled environment, best controlled environment to do it in. And so it's following standard practices for determining the efficiency of this type of a product. But if you have any questions you want to ask more directly, I'm always available to you guys, especially since you've taken the time to hear us out today. So again, Pete at scoutshonor.com, just make sure you spell Scouts with a K. Be happy to respond to you and any question you have.
Awesome, thanks, Pete. So Emily asks, what is the largest bottle that we sell or that is sold? Emily, that's kind of a large question. I mean, it depends on kind of your it's essentially gallon. I mean, when it comes to certain cleaning products, gallon when it comes to our shampoos, conditioners, and then when it comes to other cleaning products, there's 32 ounce. We have 35 ounce. We have 8 ounce for our deodorizing sprays. We have 8 ounce for our detangling spray. There's 8 ounce for your anti-chew spray, and then a 16 ounce for your anti-chew spray. But I guess the largest is going to be gallon, but it's going to be in select products, so more of the cleaning lineup, and then your grooming essentials, so like your shampoo, your conditioner, your 2-in-1s.
We do have a great manufacturing capability though, so if there is a need for product, if enough of a need, packaging, like Tommy said, during the pandemic, it was very difficult to get anything over a liter, or anything over a 32 ounce. And the reason being that those were being hoarded for some reason by the government, and the distribution was being controlled. So that is now not as much of a situation. We are able to get some of those larger bottles, the F-style bottles you see in a lot of the grooming salons are becoming more available. It is something that we will and can look into if the demand is there.
Absolutely. So Will the infographics be available for training and or for their team and or customers? Absolutely. You can just email services@Skouts Honor. You can email me directly, Tommy, TOMMY @Skouts Honor, like pizza with a K. We can get you whatever assets you're specifically looking for training purposes or your customer base. So is the 4-foot gondola a display, or the mandala? It's a display concept, so it's something that whether we need to bring it to market or not, we can. It's more of just like a mock-up of what it could look like, just so you have an idea.
So we do have the we can do end caps, if that's the question. So that would be an example of a header board that we would create for an end cap program with a retailer. We do have displays that we produce every once in a while that we do come out with. So just making sure you keep in touch or sign up for our mailing list, and we will notify you when those off-shelf displays are available. Those header cards we're capable of producing in specific runs, so they can be produced to fill a need.
Jody, to answer your question, yes, this will be available later. We're going to send everybody a copy of it to your email so you can share it with your staff or whoever needs to see it, as well as available on petsplusmag.com. Pete, there's a question here for you. How would you compare your product to Zymox? We sell both now. Thank you for the sample in the bark box.
I like our approach. I think our approach is unique in that we are able to put that live colony forming unit of bacteria and yeast, the kefir, the whole package in the product. What's unique about that is that the enzymes used that the bacteria and the yeast are using to break down their opponents, in this case the yeast, and say an ear infection, are being continually produced. Because that bacteria and that yeast, the beneficial bacteria and yeast, are going to continue to produce the weapon they use to break down their food, in this case lactic acid. So it's going to be something that what's unique about Skouts products provide a longer lasting and continual support than, for example, something that may be more of like a hit and rinse. So if yeah, I mean, I think that's it. The fact that these are going to continue to colonize for up to 14 days, like Abby was saying, it can provide a long-lasting living layer of protection as in support of the natural microbiome. So we're really trying to get that natural microbiome back up and running as quickly as possible. That's what's doing the heavy lifting. I mean, my favorite example to use with our products is that, and I always say it's a bar, a party, right? You go in and it's full of cool people. There's going to be one or two people that are kind of making a mess of things, but that's just typical. That happens anywhere. If you were to tell everyone they had to leave, whoever comes back first is going to kind of dictate the vibe. And what we're trying to prevent is the first group to come back in being the ones that are going to turn this thing sour. We don't want it to be the pathogenic bacteria or yeast that are going to come and set up that biofilm. We want it to be the natural microbial community. So we basically fill the party. We tell everyone to get out because we just wash it or rinse it, and then we fill up all those seats with cool, supportive probiotics. And again, three things, right? They basically keep all those seats full, so no bad luck can walk in that door and establish itself. There is some antimicrobial, historically proven antimicrobial ability with these probiotics. And then, of course, you also have a calming that it takes place because the immune system says, okay, there's somebody here, but they're not up to anything bad, so it just sort of relaxes. And that's the biggest benefit I see when I use it for the eczema, is that immediate just sort of relief. But what's nice about it is that if I use it on a daily basis, or I just really don't have to deal with it at all. Yeah, I mean, so I don't like talking about other people's products, so hopefully I answered that by talking about our own products effectively.
Great answer. Can you tell us a little bit about your flea and tick products?
Yeah, so we just launched we launched a natural flea and tick program So what this is a flea and tick program based off of the EPA's 25B exemption. This is what you predominantly see in your essential oil-based products in pet specialty. So, you know, we don't have this is not a product, these are products that don't necessarily have a registered pesticide in them. Instead, we're using eugenol, peppermint oil, and different essential oils to help solve this problem. Reason why we like this is because I feel like it's more in line with us as a company. You know, these are products, obviously, essential oils, all rapidly biodegradable, all biorenewable, very responsible, safe to use around your dogs. And so it's just something that we're really happy to put in the market. We've had fantastic results. Obviously, being a 25B exempt product, these are registered at the state level. So we do have efficacy studies showing that they do, in fact, work very well. So we're happy with the products. We're very proud to put them on the retail shelves and give our audience a chance to try our brand's take on a pretty common problem. So it's exciting time around here because we just launched it. So there you go. I'm happy.
Absolutely.
And we're in the
Absolutely.
Midwest, we're seeing ticks every day on dogs, and groomers, you know, we have a high velocity blow dryer. We can see every inch of their skin. So we're going to catch that first. And I have a feeling it's going to be a very bad tick year. So the fact that you just launched this is a relief.
And very important. Yeah, they're pretty bad in Southern California too. So at least fleas are. So, all right. So for those dogs that have been licking feet, what would you say is the first product you would suggest to use? I mean, obviously, like, we have a few different options that we would go with. I know all of it kind of supports the probiotic backbone. But where would you start?
For me, I do like the anti-itch, the spray, but I really like soaking it. I like soaking the paws and then doing sprays. I feel like that just gives it like an extra boost, like using the spray in conjunction with that. But they can there's no wrong answer. Like if they have the anti-itch spray, they can use that. If they have any of the other sprays, they can use that. So I mean, kind of what they have on hand, but you can use a couple of the products in conjunction with each other for it too.
I would agree. You kind of want to start with like that nice deep clean, and, you know, get in there, do the best job you can. If you can do so you have like the means or the capabilities to do a soak, that's great. If you have to bathe outside where you don't have like a tub to put their feet in, you know, do just the best you can to get like a nice good job on it. And then obviously you want to support with some of those other products. And then there's the prebiotic pet balm too, which obviously supports good bacteria growth on the paws as well. And that can often shift the balance to where like you can take advantage of some of those issues.
I mean, if you have a little sandcastle bucket, if you have like a big cup,
Right,
you can
whatever
get
means.
creative. Look in your garage, get creative.
All right, so we have another one. I think we're actually just getting down to the bottom of these questions here, but one of them states, we have groomers at our location, and who is the best person to contact if for the groomers? So that would be Chase at scoutshonor.com. So CHASE at scoutshonor.com. Just remember, Scouts with a K. And I do have the contact card visible right there. So just replace services with Chase's name.
And if you email services, they'll get you in touch with the right person. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Absolutely. Services can handle anything. Yep. And that kind of rounds up what we have here today. So I just want to say thank you again, Abby, for going through this with us, and Pete, obviously, for taking the time to do this. Guys, and we want to thank you most importantly for joining and sitting through this, and, you know, being thirsty for kind of knowledge and just what's cutting edge in like the pet space now, and where natural, what really lies with natural benefits in some of these products. And if either of you want to add anything, please do.
No, it's great. Thanks, you guys.
No.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thanks, Abby.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.